And we are live. Hey guys, it's Thursday night once again, and welcome to another episode of Getting Candid with Rochie. So, how are you guys doing? I hope you're enjoying the week. And I just have one question. Did you know that it's Food Allergy Awareness Week this week? Yes, it's one of those week that is very close to my heart as a food allergy mom. But aside from that, one thing I didn't know is that May 19th to 15th, 2021 is also National Women's Health Week. Yep, it's National Women's Health Week. And according to the US Department of Health and Human Services, they made this week special because they want to remind women to take care of themselves, as well as the girls out there to take care of themselves, not only physically but emotionally and yes, mentally. So I know most of you are fascinated with the title for tonight. It's called Women's Mental Mess. So basically, we will be talking about women's mental health. And with that, I want to introduce to you my guest tonight, my very dear friend, Elizabeth Somboun. Did I say it right, Elizabeth?
I'm proud of you, because so many people don't. They like really like I don't know. They come up with a lot of pronunciations of my last name, but that's okay because it's not very Caucasian. Actually, my husband's Asian, so I actually had to learn how to say it myself for a very long time when we were dating because I had to like practice it for when I would like speak to his parents and stuff, and then like the proper bow and. I had to like learn all of this stuff, so don't worry about it. I get it all the time. You're so good. You're so good.
See, I totally forgot to ask you about it, but yes, I got it right.
Yes.
Okay, for those of you who are watching right now, we will be live, or actually, we are live. So if you have any questions or any stories you want to share, make sure to put it in the comment section because Elizabeth and I would love to answer them or would love to share it as well with others. Okay, and don't forget, share this video, this live, so that some of your friends or friend of friends who might need some help tonight or maybe something about their mental health will be able to reach them. And now we have somebody here.
Yes.
Hi, Jenny.
Hi, Jenny.
Yes, Jenny O'Malley is our dear friend, and she is actually watching from Vegas. Actually, Jenny, we were just talking about Elizabeth's experience in Vegas pre-show, and it is so funny. I think she owes you the story soon, okay? So, see,
no, it's a good town. There's a lot of good people in Vegas. It's a good city. It's a good city. It's a fun city.
It is. And I haven't been there, but I guess somebody like Elizabeth, viewer, she's actually in Canada right now. So I'm sure.
I'm home now. I'm home.
I'm sure Vegas is a different story, right?
It is. It was just, I don't know, it was just like a totally different feel from, Canada because, just different, ways of thinking. And it was just so funny to me too, like driving like in the States, like the huge like political billboards and stuff because we just don't have them here. And it's just like funny to like, I was kind of like culture shock reverse because I haven't been in the States for a really long time. So it was just like, wow, like this is like really crazy. But the Bellagio was really nice. The food there, like, wow, like Feng Chang's or something. It was like a restaurant that comes with like the little brown boxes and stuff. Oh my
God. I know. I heard they have good food. I heard about that.
Eat all you can for me, Jenny and Molly. You're eating for two now. You're eating for me as well.
That is amazing. So right now I'm just sharing the video to the other groups so they could watch it again. And I hope you could share it too for those who are watching.
Yes.
Okay, let's go on with our first question.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth, when you hear the word mental mess, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, I think that now the way you had said it in the questions that you sent me, it was mental mess, like MESS. So I'm not sure if it was mental mess or mental mess now. I'm kind of confused, but we'll start with what I had originally thought, which was mental mess. And a lot of times we use like these like really derogative things of like, crazy or the B word or whatever when we're talking about women that just don't have it together yet. But I think for me, it was, it's just a flower that hasn't yet bloomed. And what I mean by that, it's like someone who hasn't completed like their mental health journey. And I think that we have this picture in our heads and in our hearts that like, oh, well, you should just have it all together because you're this age or you should know better. And the reality of it is until you can get that inner child healed, nobody's going to really get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that what we have to do is we have to let go of the shame of the past to fully live in the present. And, whether you're talking about mentalness or mental mess, I think it's pretty much the same thing. Like, it's just getting yourself healed. And, a lot of times, especially when I'm working with clients, are like, well, I want a quick fix. And I think that the problem with this is that when you're talking about mental health, if you're going through cancer, it's a huge journey to get from having cancer to being cancer free. If you go through having an amputation and you have to do all of that physical therapy with an amputation and stuff, we don't see mental health the same way. We just think of it like, oh, well, you should just be better because you're in the right church or, things are perfect for you. You have the perfect husband, you have the perfect spouse, like what's wrong with you? And I think that it's internal work that needs to happen first. So I think that people that are in mental mess, it's just because they haven't done the inner work to get themselves healthy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, because I think all of us has that I would say outside influence that always asks like you should be like this, you should be like that. And I think for us women, we have people, or I said society has more expectations on us than men.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
I think that's
yeah, because I know you're not a mom yet, but for me as a mom, here's my experience. If I go like drop my kids to school, if I'm wearing, typical 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, if my hair is a mess, I don't have any makeup on. Well, I don't wear pajamas, but some moms actually wear sweatpants and almost like pajamas. Because if it's winter, you just have to put your jacket on, put them in the car, drop them, and like that, right? But most moms who are outside, they would see, oh my God, she didn't even brush her hair. Or, her daughter's outfit is mismatched or something like that. It's like you're not good enough that you already brought your daughter there on time.
Yeah, I think that women, it's really interesting to me because we don't give them enough grace. We don't give ourselves enough grace, but I think on top of that, we don't give our other sisters a lot of grace. And I think that to change this whole dynamic and to change this whole shift of things, it's, I remember, actually, I am a mom. You just didn't know. No, that's okay, sweetie. You didn't know. A lot of people, I co-parent with my eldest son's dad, and I remember I was breastfeeding in the mall, and I was really, really struggling with it. And then this woman, I had this happen twice. So I was in one area and I was breastfeeding, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, that's so disgusting. Like, can you please go to the bathroom to do that? And I was like, would you? And I actually said it, and I was pretty bold. I'm not usually bold, but I was pretty bold because I was defending my kid, and I was like, well, would you eat your meal in the bathroom? Like, do you understand like how many germs and like gross, and I was like, I'm covered, nobody can see anything. And then he had gotten a little older, and I was in a mall, and somebody said, oh my gosh, like, you're such a bad parent, like, why aren't you breastfeeding? And I looked at them and I said, because he's like eating more than I can produce, and he's eating like 15 ounces more than what I can give. And I'm like, wait a second, why am I explaining this to a complete stranger? And I was like, what? Like, I have to justify my parenting abilities or my breast milk production to a complete stranger, and like, why did I just do that? And I'm thinking, because it's just expected of society that we have to come up with a reason, and I think that if we can just give grace, we would be so much further along with a lot of stuff. So I think that you're absolutely right. I think that to keep up mentalness, to prevent mental mess, we definitely need to have a lot of grace. We need to give each other more grace. We need to give ourselves more grace. And in all honesty, we have to give grace to our own moms, and for people like me, that's a little bit harder to do. But I think that when you give grace, I think it takes you down longer and more beautiful paths. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because like with my kids too, that's what I always say. Don't just listen on anything you hear on social media, because everything is, most of them says you are not enough. Yes. You're not skinny enough. Yes. You're not curvy enough. Mm-hmm. Your eyes are not big enough, or your eyes is not small enough. Exactly. All those little, even the hair. Yeah. It should, those of us who have straight hair will say we want it curly, and those who have curly hair would like, I love your straight hair. Everything in that.
I'm on the second spectrum of that, because I just love Asian hair. It's just so beautiful, and I force my husband to keep his hair long because it's just like so nice, and it's like silky. And you can just like wake up and it's never naughty, and I'm just, must be grand, And then God's like tapping me on the shoulder, and he's like, yeah, but I think your hair's pretty great too. Like, that's why I created it. So, thankfulness goes a long way too, but I'll get to that later.
Yeah. So I think those, I would say the never enough culture that we have really affects a woman's mental health, right? Do you agree with me in that?
Totally agree with you. Actually, it was funny because I actually had to I kind of wrote out essays for all of these questions, and then I was like, she's going to be here until tomorrow, so I kind of highlighted about that. But yeah, I really do think that this not enough culture is really self-destructive, and I really highly encourage this. I myself am a missionary kid, and I lived without hot water in my shower sometimes. My kitchen sink in my house in Brazil didn't have hot water. There was no hot water in the bathroom sink, and in storms, you could actually feel the electricity running through the walls because there was just no grounding. Mm-hmm. And, every week, I saw a kid being buried because of bad water. And I really have a heart for orphans and people that live in third world countries. And I really encourage you to pick an organization, whether it's YWAM or, Younger Kids with a Mission. I think they have other ones too for younger kids. Send your kids on a mission trip to a third world country, because it gives them a very huge eye-opening experience that, right now I'm working with an orphanage, and they don't even have decent things for girls for sanitary napkins and stuff like that. So it is. And I think that selfishness is the door to mayhem and destruction. Greed and a lack of appreciation is a cancer that devours the soul, leaving no room for thankfulness. And I think that this is a pandemic of epic proportions. As a matter of fact, prior to watching this show, I was kind of decompressing and just kind of like breathing and stuff. But we were watching a show called Rich Kids Go Skint for like a week. And the high rich kids, it's like, you know, they don't even know how to make toast. And it's like, this is like, they're 21, 22 years old, and they don't even know how to make toast. And I was like, man, like, I thought I was behind, like, you know, and I'm like, I'm not doing so badly, you know, like, but this me culture, and it's like, you know, this is what's causing so much racism. This is what's causing like just no appreciation for the people in your lives and the things that, you know, it's allowing people not to have purpose in their life, you know, and it's all about like, what can I obtain? And the reality of it is that most people that have these name brand bags and are looking perfect on social media, behind the scenes, it's not like that at all.
Yes.
You know, it's really tragic because you're not seeing what's going on behind the scenes. You're just seeing what they want you to see. They Photoshop all of their pictures and their videos, and they edit and edit and edit. And it's like, it's not real. And we live in this plastic world. You know, I think of that dance song, like Barbie World, like it's all plastic, it's all fake. And it's like, when are we gonna get to the point of just being real? Because the more facades that we wear, the harder it is to unveil our true selves. And this is the problem with society, is that we don't really know who we are. And if we don't know who we are, then how can we decipher our own purpose? And see, this is the problem with so many kids, is because until they can really find out who they are, they're already having voices of telling them of who they are without them even who they are. And we're rewriting their destinies for them, because we are a society are telling them what they should be, but they can't hear the voice of God saying, no, this is who I created you to be.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and I think those types of things actually contribute to not only us, but younger kids in particular. Like, they wouldn't say what I am, or what do I really want, or what should I do. Actually, now I've noticed that most kids, they're going to college, because I got one who's going to college, and they would say, what will I do? Or what do I want? I said, I was in the Philippines when I went to college. I'm 16 years old. And at 16, we have to decide what we wanted for college, because right away you're picking your major. The minute you enter, not even enter, the minute you apply, that is your major. So, you know, if you would change majors at the during this school year, or even freshman year, you're already messing up your, I would say, your time frame. And now my daughter,
I think we need to get off of this time frame. You know, I think that, you know, it's really frustrating to me when I see like 20-something-year-olds decide that they want to be a life coach, and I'm like, what the heck do you know about life? Like, live it a little bit, you know? Like, live it a little bit, just live it a little bit. Like, you know, just give it like 10 years. Like, you don't know anything. Like, what do you know? Like, you know? Not saying we're not good life coaches at 20 and 25. Like, I'm not degrading youth. But what I am saying is, it's like, you know, a lot of them still don't even know how to balance a checkbook, but they're going to give you advice on like money matters. Like, there's something very skewy here.
You know what? You reminded me of one experience. I think it was I saw it maybe 5 years or 6 years ago, because I've been, you know, in all social media and everything. So I got one. I saw one on Twitter.
Yes.
And she was actually, you know, I was like, oh, it's a new profile liking my stuff. And so I made a research, and then she put it in there that she is a parenting coach. She's a parenting expert. And here's the reality on that one. She's a parenting expert willing to coach women how to parent. And guess what? She is she is a one-time mom. So she got one child,
Oh,
and
wow.
her child is 6 months old.
Wow.
And I was at that time my kids are what, in middle school already? I got 4 kids in middle school, and I said, guess what? I still don't know what I'm doing raising these kids.
No. No, I think you should at least have, 1 through like at least like high school, before you do that, like
Because
high school. I mean, he's about to go to, university and stuff. So, I've already done like the parenting thing. Yes, I do coach parenting, but I think this is a huge problem too, is because it's like, who are you buying advice from? And there are so many coaches, and there are so many people that, that they have it together. And it's like, even there, and I'll get into this a little bit later, but therapists that I went to, they're like, they couldn't help me. My trauma was too advanced that they're just like, you need to see somebody else. Like, I went into a PTSD rehab, and they're just like, you're the worst case we've seen. Like, there's just no help. They're like, good luck with that, and they just sent me on my merry way. And I'm like, what am I gonna do to fix this? Like, because there is no dummy's handbook on the kind of trauma that I experienced, like to understand that. And I think that that's part of the problem, is that these youngsters, they have these great ideas, like, yes, I can change the world, I can fix it. But then when they get to like hardcore things, it's like, well, wait a second, how do I do this? And, I don't really agree with, pastors, preaching at like 20 when, they're not even married. And, get some time underneath your belt. There is no shame in waiting on God's timing and waiting for that experience to like build you up and, take you over mountains, because there's a lot of mountains when you work with people. It's not just this like, valley of, roses and daisies, it's very complicated, and I'm off topic here, but yeah, just be very, very careful with the advice that you buy. And that, that's part of it, is just, using wisdom. People just, they have inadequate mental thoughts. Yes, and they jump on these inadequate mental thoughts, and they're like, oh yes, this is going to be a great idea. And then when it plunges and they're in the depths of despair, and they're like, well, how did I get here? And then it's like, well, who did you get advice from again? Like, and I think that, it's very keen, because a lot of us go to our girlfriends, and we go to all of these other people that have the same issues and the same things that we're struggling with. And then we're all in this big mud puddle together, and we're like, okay, well, now all of us are stuck in the mud puddle. Who's going to get us all out of this mess?
Okay. Now, speaking of trauma, because trauma is one of the things that actually contributes to, I would say, our mental illness. Because I know everybody has that mental issues, and usually it's brought by trauma. So,
yes,
some people right now may be thinking, I can't get out of this, or you don't feel enough, or it's not as hard as you don't know where I'm from. It is always like that. But will you, in probably like a few minutes, can you share with us your story?
Yeah, I will dive quickly into this, because I will say that this is probably rated PG-13. So if you have kids that are listening, and you may want to just, not have little, like, tiny human ears listening to this. Middle humans are okay, but little humans, tiny humans are not so good for this. But Anyway, I was, so a little bit about my trauma. So I was conceived in rape and incest. I was sexually trafficked by my stepfather. I was tortured in that time as well. I have burn marks all over my body. I was then put up for adoption. I was adopted with my half brother. They kept me for 7 years, abandoned me in an airport. They kept my brother. I was flown 2,500 miles away from where they lived. I lived in a group home for a year. I was then adopted by a cult family, survived that. They put me up for adoption to live with another person who kept me for a year until I turned 18. My cultish parents then kidnapped 2 of my children. I then decided to completely just disassociate myself entirely from the United States, and I moved up here. My parents tried to kidnap my 3rd child to get it adopted to the family that had adopted my 2nd child, and had already had backdoor conversations with them. And then we were like terrified that they were gonna my mom who only came up for the birth, to kidnap my child to take it back to Texas. So we were like really, really afraid that that was gonna happen. I then found out at around 24 that I was sexually trafficked, conceived out of rape. And I also found out that family members knew about it. Family members that I had invited from Oklahoma to stay with me, that they knew about this. And there was a lot of forgiveness that had to happen. And I was suicidal, actively suicidal for 4 years. And that was like huge trauma, like just trying to, when I went into my PTSD rehab, they said, okay, we want you to do a vision board of things that you find safe. And I remember going through it, and I felt like that little girl in the encyclopedia. She had survived the Holocaust, and they had asked her to draw a home, like what home represented, and she was drawing like chaotic circles. I came up with sidewalks. That was the only thing that I could find that actually did not bring up any kind of trauma for me. This is how bad
the sidewalk.
The sidewalks. I had 15 sidewalks, and people ask me like, well, why don't you have kids? I'm like, that's traumatic. I have too much trauma. They're like, family? I was like, I don't have family. Like it's too traumatic. Because it had to be something that did not bring me any kind of trauma. And I came up with sidewalks. That's kind of sad, really, thinking back on it. But yeah, that was my board of safety. It was sidewalks. I had panic attacks, probably from the time that I woke up to the time that I went to bed, because life just in general traumatized me. I had night sweats to the point that my sheets were drenched. I would wet the bed. I would have tight terrors, and like I would just lose control of my bladder. I also had witnessed a murder at 4, so I was also suicidal from the time I was 3.5. So if you can imagine being 3 and having suicidal thoughts, and the only thing that you wanted to do was die, and having to like live through that all the way up until the age of 23, then it was like, well, what really is the point? Because by 3, I was already suicidal. By 4, I was bulimic. By age 8, I had lost 75% of my hair. I remember my 4th grade teacher had noticed it, and she said, what's going on with your hair? Like, do you have cancer? I was like, no, I don't have cancer, but I said, my home life is really stressful. And I said, this is just one of those adult things that happen to adults, like it just gets really stressful. So I'm just dealing with a lot of stress. But I said, the doctor doesn't really know what my stress is from, but they say I'm stressed out. Like I'm like explaining this to like my 4th grade teacher, like very mature. It's just like, what the heck are you going through? So let's see. Now this was my trauma. This is stuff that I had to go through, and I can tell you that I am I had to do the really, really hard work. And I'm going to tell you something, there is no quick fix to healing. I had to do 9 straight years of therapy without missing a session.
Wow. That's a lot.
I went into a PTSD rehab for a month.
Mm-hmm.
You have to crave it. You have to crave your healing, because it's not just going to magically come to you. You know, church is amazing. You know, getting into small groups is amazing, but it's not going to radically save your life. You need step-by-step, like real psychiatric healing to get there. It's not just going to come by like, oh yeah, like I want it and I desire it and it's just going to like fall down and it's all going to be better. No, because I had gone through all of the motions.
Mm-hmm.
I read my Bible every day. It wasn't working. I was going to church every day. It wasn't working because I had too much of my own shame and I had too many self-destructive behaviors that were going on constantly. And you can't cure somebody who wants to crave death. I had to crave life, but I didn't know how to get life because it was all very, very coordinated, right? So the very first thing that I did is I had to make my healing a priority. Mm-hmm. Then I had to say, okay, who do I know that has worse trauma than me that I can go to? Because there is not a how to overcome being sexually trafficked at 3 for Dummies. There's just no book like it. You know, I should write a book. How to overcome sexual trauma for dummies. Like, I'm sure it would be a big seller. No. But I had to figure this out. And so I really, really like thought about, I was like, okay, who do I know that has gone through this? Because I was a case study. My social worker dragged me into our office and she's like, okay, I'm going to write all of these notes because I'm submitting this to the medical board. Because legally and medically, you should be dead. Suicide, like completely, like just dead on drugs, living on the streets. How come you're not like that? Can you please explain to me this? Because this is like a medical anomaly. And she's just like writing like all of these notes on like my empathy and stuff like that. And so what I did is when I was in 4th grade, I had read the book of Anne Frank, The Diary of Anne Frank. I had read that book. And my pastor, as a child, his mentor was Hans Play, who also worked with Corrie ten Boom. And so then I was like, aha, Holocaust survivors. So I did some digging. I did a lot of digging, and I went on YouTube and I found Holocaust survivor stories from the Shoah Foundation that Steven Spielberg did. I owe Steven Spielberg my life.
There you go.
I actually did today. I did a very brave thing. I emailed Emblem Studios and I told them that I wanted them to know that Steven Spielberg saved my life, because if it had not been for the Shoah Foundation videos that are on YouTube, I would not be sitting here today. And I watched over 100,000 hours of all of these stories. It took me 2 weeks. I watched every single episode. I can tell you, I can look at a Holocaust picture now and I can tell you who's in the picture. I can tell you the backstory of the picture. I can tell you exactly like what happened to them, where they're at. Like I know like all of this like Holocaust
details
because they saved my life. And my husband, he was like, sweetie, he's like, you really have to stop. He's like, I think you're getting too desensitized. He's like, I'm not sure this is like totally healthy. He's like, this is really good that you're healed and you've got it. But he's like, I can't take anymore. Like I was just like, but they had so much faith. And he was like, yes, they did. But like, it's not really good that this stuff happened to them. But I'm like, but it made them survivors. And I was just totally into it because I was like, wow, like they learned to attach. Okay, how did they learn to attach? And like, I've got to learn how to attach. And I was just like mimicking them. And I would like my hero, I think, in all of this was Otto Frank, because his entire family died. And everybody that was in that house had perished except for him. But he didn't allow hate to overcome him. And he allowed love to not only love his wife, but like his stepdaughter too. And he like supported her to like do photography. And I was just like, wow, if they can learn to attach, I can learn how to attach and I can teach this. because I know the steps. And I think this is what you need to really get healthy. It's not if life just shows up and gives it to you. It's like you have to hunger for it. You have to desire it. You have to like fight for it, because it's not always given to you. And for the people that life is given to you, take it as a gift. Because for me, it was like clawing my way out of this huge pit that my parents would put me in. Like every time I would see them on vacation, they're like, when are you going to admit that you are a horrible mom? When are you going to admit that what we did was justifiable because you were evil? And I was just like, I'm not going to accept that. And I'm never going to say that, because that's just not true. You know, when you look at cults, this is something that they do. They divide families, and they just decide who's evil, and they just take kids away, and they just ship them. And it was just a part of who they were. It was no reflection on me. It was just who they were. And, you know, I think that people, you know, they use this excuse, well, I just can't attach because. It's like, no, you can attach if you desire to attach. You can forgive if you have the desire to forgive. So I'm going to just back up. So the guy that trafficked me, I had asked my grandmother for a picture of him, and it didn't come in the mail. But every time I walked past, I had a place that I was going to put his picture, and I wanted to walk past it. And I wanted to do what Nelson Mandela did, because he had a picture of all of the people that had imprisoned him wrongly. And every time he walked past those pictures, he wanted to pray for them. And I told God that if my trafficker is in heaven, when I get to heaven, I want to wrap my arms around him and say, you know what, you are here because of the girl that you trafficked prayed for you. Because I forgive you. And I know that if I can forgive you, Jesus has already forgiven me, and you can be forgiven. And this is the key piece of healing, because we think, well, they don't deserve forgiveness. No. You don't deserve to carry that pain. It doesn't have anything to do with them. You know, unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. No, you're going to die. Because if you can't give that power over and say, okay, I'm not going to let you terrorize my life, guess what? I'm free, hallelujah. I'm just going to go on my merry little way. But this is the problem, is that, you know, people don't want to do that. For some reason, they just want to stay stuck, because ego doesn't want us to get out of our comfort zone, because our outside of our comfort zone is where the fear is. And we think that it's more fearful to change and to transform than to stay where we are. And so we stay stuck, and we stay enclosed, and we just stay little. But we stay little, but our inner child dies. But we have to get our inner child healed. So when our inner child is healed, we can die into faith. And I think that's, so yeah, I mean, any kind of trauma, I absolutely believe that there is no trauma that you cannot overcome, because I've experienced all of it. You know, I've experienced torture, I've experienced spiritual abuse, I've experienced mental abuse. Like I have just, you know, I've been stuck in narcissistic abusive relationships, and, you know, I got out of it. There is nothing, you know, there's a verse in the Bible, and I can't pull it up right now because my brain went blank, but there's a verse in the Bible that says nothing can separate us from the love of God, not even hell itself. And I do think that there's a lot of hellish experiences on this thing, on this little ball we call Earth. But I'm going to tell you something. It doesn't have to mean that you're stuck in hell. It means that you get to rise from that hell. You can stand up and say, yes, hallelujah, I know what hell is. And then you get the joy of going back into hell and pulling people up and pulling them into the light, and so they can be free. But if you're just selfish and be like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just free, and, you know, you can just, you know, stay down there because, you know, it's better up here. It smells better up here. You know, you kind of missed the point. You know, you kind of missed the point. Yeah. You don't want to miss the point.
So I guess this is one short sentence for you that I think when it comes to trauma and when it comes to mental health, you want to improve. There should be a desire in it and a passion for you. Because most of us, like, you know, when we were younger, mental health is not like acceptable, or nobody wants to talk about it, and or even like you're struggling over something, it's a taboo that you shouldn't be talking about. And I guess now that's one thing that we should strive for, is that if we need help,
Mhm.
We should talk about it and really ask for help.
I
Now
think you're absolutely right. And just to encourage this, because I know, you come from like the Asian community, and being immersed myself now into the Asian community, this is something that a lot of Asians like still consider taboo, and still considered like, very hush hush, like, oh, we don't talk about that. In certain Asian languages too, like PTSD isn't even really a word. Like they don't even have like a word for it, right? And I'm really, really encouraging you guys, like if you are in the Asian community and you are listening to this, especially right now with all of the Asian hate that's going on, this is the time. This is like God throwing the doors open and say, yes, you can come get healing, get rest, because we don't want, like, God doesn't want any of us stuck in our mental mess. Like whether you're Asian or Caucasian, Black, Hispanic, like, blue, purple, whatever, like,
unicorn.
He just doesn't want us, stuck there. And so, I'm really, really encouraging you, I don't speak any other, well, I do speak a little bit of Portuguese. I don't speak any fluent Asian languages, because God, it's tonal and it sucks when I say it. But, fine, there are life coaches out there, Jenny Umali, I know she's an amazing life coach. She's Tagalog and I think some other languages. And I know you do as well, Rochie. You're just awesome. You're an awesome, awesome person. So, if you are in the Asian community and you have experienced trauma, especially with everything that's going on, take this opportunity and reach out, because we don't want you suffering, and this is a time to really speak up about it, because I know that there's a lot in the Asian community that have PTSD from the Vietnam War, from just things that are going on in the Philippines, things that are happening right in our own areas. So I'm just really encouraging you to, I'm thinking of that one girl that ended up getting stuck in the water tower. Actually, it was in Vegas, I believe. It happened in Vegas, I think. And she ended up, just taking her own life, because she just didn't know how to reach out for help, because her parents came from the older generation of, the Asian mentality. And, Asians are very much about honor and respect, but sometimes they can't really relate very well emotionally, because it's just not in their genetics. It's not something that they grew up with, and they can't teach something that they don't know. So I'm just really encouraging you guys, if you are in the Asian community, reach out to people that can relate to you and know about your culture and know what's going on, and, have a heartbeat on what's going on, because we really care about you, and we really, really love you. And I am really sorry. Those of you that are in the Asian community that are getting hurt right now, it's very heartbreaking, and I just want you to know that you are in my prayers, and that I love you so much. And we try to pray for you guys every day. So if you are in that situation, just know that there's love going out towards you. Absolutely.
And I think also, for one of the first steps that we need to acknowledge as a community is that we have to talk. Because we most of the time they're like, somebody offended you in such a way. It's not dramatic when you feel pain or hurt from that offense, or whether it's verbal, physical, or some words that came out there that they shouldn't be saying. I think it's about time that we have to speak up. And because the thing is, when it comes to mental health, whatever color you are, you relate to, when you get hurt over something, it's not that we can put it aside. I would say at nighttime we will remember it, or in any situation that a similar situation we go through, we will remember it. And that will always contribute to our our mental health. And sometimes being traumatized just to go out in the streets, or just you don't have the courage to walk around your neighborhood. That is not what we supposed to have, right? We have to feel safe,
Exactly. Yeah.
and that is not overreacting. It is actually an
No.
emotion that we have to deal with.
Yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat because, Brandon and I don't walk anymore from the grocery store to our house because, we're just not feeling safe anymore. And, you have to do right now, you have to work around that fear. You have to leave the house, but, try to come up with different routines, go out with people in groups. And this is a really good time, even, with COVID, just wear your mask and, kind of go out with like a couple of people from your, neighborhood a little bit and, venture out because, it's more when you're out by yourself that these things are happening. And, if you can communicate and just come together as a community, that's where you're going to find strength because you're going to find out that you're not the only one. You're not the only one going through this. There's a lot of other people that are dealing with the exact same thing and they're just maybe too afraid to voice it or not sure how to voice it. But, we're kind of all in this together. And I think that's one of the really huge parts about this is that COVID is really making us feel isolated. But if there's a time to get a life coach or a counselor, like this is like prime soil to get all of that stuff out in the open and just get it done. So that way, when you're around people, you can be a happy, normal little person.
And yeah, I just want to point it out too that most insurance already cover mental health, like therapies or even sessions, and even some companies actually encourage you to use those I would say benefits because they know that if you are mentally well, you work well, you become a better employee, a better friend, a better mom, a better person in general, right?
Yeah, it's very truthful. Yeah.
Okay, we have a note here from one of the viewers. I was an atheist for a long time. Then God touched my heart in a very special way. Prayers and meditation helped me. I continue to explore my relationship with God through prayer of the heart. Hi, Tita. And she's also an Elizabeth.
She's also, yes.
Yeah, I think we always have, I would say, different sources of help.
Yeah.
And do you want to tackle on that?
I think that just sitting there and just closing your eyes and just just getting peace within yourself and just taking like really good Corey Timboon has a lot of great expressions or just really great expressions from really great writers and just saying them over and over again and just claiming them as your own until you believe them. I always like to say for a very long time, I borrowed people's faith, and that's okay. You can borrow people's faith until you can understand it and get it. And, this is something that it was really interesting because my husband's parents were actually, they're Buddhists, they're still Buddhists. And I was shocked that this conservative Buddhist family that fled from Vietnam when the Vietnam War was happening ended up allowing a white American girl to reside at their house. I was just completely blown away by that. And I think that sometimes in life, like you don't necessarily need to be quote, quote, a Christian, but you can experience grace. I mean, God's word says, he lets he lets the rain fall on the just and on the unjust. And so, you don't necessarily need to be a quote unquote Christian to get peace, but just to work it out in your own way, whether that's through, meditation or just sitting with yourself. I think that the biggest thing that we need to understand too is, people that are seeking God or seeking, truth, as I know it or as you want to know, is The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren. And he's one of my greatest heroes because, he is this amazing pastor in California. And he wrote this book, and his son ended up committing suicide. And he said, God used my biggest pain for ministry. And I think that no matter what you're going through, you know, MAD, one of the biggest, best organizations against drug prevention, it wasn't necessarily a Christian, it's not a Christian organization, but you can take all of that anger and all of that hate and just put it into something great, something bigger than yourself. You know, people that have lost children, you know, they donate, you know, baby clothes, or, you know, they help fundraise something in memory of their child. And I think that it doesn't matter if you believe in God. It just means that, you know, you make your pain bigger. You make it for a bigger purpose. And I think this is a thing that a lot of us do, is that sometimes when we experience pain, we just sort of, we go into our little shells, our little cocoons. And I think that, you know, because we don't want the light and we don't really want people, but I think when we do things out of bravery, we're rewarded for it. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to tell you the journey of my book. So I did write a book, and it's called Elevators of My Life. You guys on Amazon. I'm not sure. Have you read it yet?
No, you haven't sent me one.
I didn't send you one. Oh my gosh, I gotta send you one. So I gotta remind me. Sorry. No. But I'm gonna tell you how this book came about. So my husband and I were planning to go to. I was planning to go to India alone to open up a rehab, and this person said, you know, they owned a diamond company in Surat, which is like the huge diamond center of India. It's like kind of like on the southern border or whatever. And I was like, okay, like, let's do this. I had the name picked out. I had the design. I had like everything that I wanted for this rehab. And we had sent him money that we had gotten from high interest loans, because he was like, oh, you know, we're going to promise you to pay. And like, we're like, okay, like, and he's like, don't worry about it. Like, I'm flying there to like, you know, help you out, to get like everything together. And he's like, you know, I'm really rich, like, don't worry about it. And it turned out that he didn't just scam us, he scammed like business people too in India. And we got really afraid for him, because we were thinking like, you know, we're angry, but we don't want you to die for it. You know, we did contact with him, but we were also very afraid. We're still very afraid for him, because we don't know if there's business people that are after him for stealing their money. But one thing I did, I was very angry, because I had never had anybody use my Christian faith to manipulate me to do something for him. Like, you know, like I give to the just like, wait a second, you were a Christian and like you just like stole from a Christian, and you even like admitted that it was a sin to steal from a Christian, but you did it anyway. Like, I'm trying to figure out how this is gonna work. But anyway, that's between you and God. That's not, you know, that's not my thing. But I was so mad. And I didn't want to cry in front of my husband, because I was like, that's just going to make things worse. I don't want to fight with him. And I was just grieving. And I would go in the shower and I would just cry. Because I was like, we're ruined. I'm like, this is it. Like, we're ruined. We're finished. We're done. Like, how much is my life insurance again? Like, no, not going to go there. I took all of this energy and all of this anger, and I said, okay, I have a choice. I can either become extremely angry and shut my doors completely to helping anybody for the rest of my life, or I can put this into a project. And I said, okay, I have the time, I have the space, I have the anger and the fierceness to do this, so I'm just going to write my book. I wrote my book in 4 days. I hand wrote it. It took me 2 days to handwrite it, and I typed it up in the last 2, and I sent it to my editor, and she's like, wow, this is an amazing book. There's like hardly any spelling errors. Like, how the heck did you do this? And I'm like, it's anger, you know. And anger can be used, like we dis anger, and we say, oh, you know, anger is bad and like it's wrong. But when we put anger behind passion, wow, things work, because you have to, it gives us drive, it gives us adrenaline, it gives us purpose. And I really, really encourage you, the more angry you feel, the bigger the project you can accomplish. Because, you know, when I tell people that I wrote my book in 4 days, they're like, holy cow, like, how did you do that? I'm not a literary genius. I just had a lot of anger behind the book. And, every time I look at the book, I'm like, okay, God, something good came out of that. And, I'll close with this real quick. I know this is a lot because, I talk a lot, Rochie. You know this.
Yeah.
Your little Irish friend over here. But no, I just wanted to close with this. God showed me this a couple of nights ago. So I was praying, and I was thinking about the cross, and I was thinking about the mercy seat. And it's just this little thing that sits on the cross, and it's supposed to give like the person crucified a little bit of comfort. Mm-hmm. And I was thinking to myself, like, such a little piece of wood does like a lot. And then I was thinking to myself, even in the crucifixion, there was comfort. There was this tiny bit of comfort. And so joy sometimes comes in splinters. And, I've had to really pull out splinters for my kids because, my son, he did for the longest time, until the book actually came out, because I actually had to sit down with him and like talk to him about some of the things that were in the book, because I was like, he's not going to understand this. Like, this is like a lot for a 17-year-old, but I picked out splinters, and up for the longest time, he thought I had the most amazing childhood because I only told him the splinters of joy that I could like pin out. And yeah, they were probably the same stories over and over and over again, because it's not like I have like all of these plethora of memories of, greatness, but I picked them out. And I think sometimes in life, especially when you're going through healing and when you're going through serious trauma, make your heart a magnifying glass to look for the splinters of joy, because your light matters. That's it. Okay, I'm done.
Oh, now that's amazing. That's an amazing last message, right? So guys, I know you've been wondering, like, can you show us your book again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because you can know more about her book. Okay, Elevators of My Life by Elizabeth Somboun. It's available in Amazon. I'm going to put the links on the description box later on so that you won't forget about it. So read it, and I'm excited to read it too. And also, if you need help on, anything, mental health, and you think that it's not as big to go to a therapist or something, try to get a life coach, because sometimes we just need a coach to help us through things. Yes, because I know some people. Yeah, because some people might think, oh, I don't need a coach in this one. You know what? Because I play sports. I've been an athlete back in high school, and now I play badminton. Yes, so it's always nice to have another set of eyes who would look on how you do things. Because, when we do things, we don't really see it. So having somebody with a different perspective will enlighten us on what are the things or habits that we have that can actually have, a little tweaking can make a big difference in our lives. So sometimes a coach would help us out. I did have a coach before, and I still have a coach. My daughter has a life coach as well. So when it comes to mental health, you can find a coach. We have some online. Elizabeth is one. Jenny O'Malley is one.
Yeah,
so,
Jenny O'Malley is super awesome. And I was just gonna say, like, I am doing a free mini workshop. I'm going to put it into a tiny block. I'm going to do my best to put it into a 2 to 3 hour block, max 4 hours, I promise, guys. But no, it's on June the 12th. It's in my group, Little Souls Life Coaching. And the reason why it's called Little Souls is because I work with parents and kids together, because it doesn't do a lot of people any good if the parents are a mess and the kids get better, or the kids get better and the parents are still kind of a mess. So I try to heal it collectively, so that way we're kind of all on the same page. And I use role playing, and I use workbooks, so the kids get workbooks, really fun workbooks. and I do it through, you know, play and skits and stuff like that. So it's really fun for the kids, and I'm not doing anything for the kids. This specific workshop is just for marriages, just to kind of get your feet wet and to deal with conflict resolution, since everybody is having conflict right now with COVID.
Oh yes.
So I thought
yes.
less. And if you decide to give a donation, it is going to Faith and Angels orphanages in Uganda to get them chickens to feed the kids at the orphanage, but then also to sell money, so that way they don't need sponsors. So this is like a really great business investment, which I've already donated $20 for the first 2 chickens. So it's only $20 to get 2 chickens, guys. So, you know, give them chickens because they need chickens.
No, I know we're laughing, right? But you know what? In some countries, one chicken is very valuable. It's not $20. For them, the value of one chicken could easily be like $200 or $500.
It is
right.
It is.
That's how valuable that is.
Yeah, exactly. So we were trying to get them chickens, and it goes to a really good cause. And so if you're having conflict with your marriage and you're really wanting to just sort of bury the hatchet with whatever, this is like the workshop for you. And it doesn't matter, you know, I am LGBTQ2. Did I pronounce that all? I think I got all of the acronyms in there.
Plus, you forgot the plus plus.
Oh, I'm sorry. Plus now. Okay, it's LGBTQ2 plus. We'll just throw another plus in there. I can't keep up now, but you know what I mean.
No, I know that. I can't keep up too. So anyway, invite them again. What's your Facebook group?
Yeah, my Facebook group is Little Souls Life Coaching Group. So it's there. And then you know, if you're having kids that are struggling, I am taking on kids too, and just trying to give them, you know, awareness of social media, good self-image, all of that kind of stuff. So it's really awesome. It's just so awesome. So it's really good. Yeah.
So guys, for those who missed it, I'm going to put it in the description section again on this video so that you would see what are the events for Elizabeth.
Yes.
Like that kids, I would say kids and teenager coaching.
Yeah.
And also the workshop again. When is it?
The workshop is June the 12th. It's at 10 a.m. And you don't really need to register for it. It's just, if you want the workbooks that go along with the slides and stuff, it would be helpful for you to get the workbooks. But it's like a free thing. Just donate to, I'll have information in the group to how to donate to the orphanage, because we're really trying to get them to have chickens because they really, really need it. So, yeah.
Yep. So guys, I will write all the details for you guys so that you won't miss those events. Now, wow, can you believe it? It's an hour. Yeah, so guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so if you have any questions or stories, don't forget, put them in the comments section, because we can go back and answer them for you and give you more details about it. Also, go over to thefrugalisamom.com, because I would put the link of this video and also some of the highlights that we talked about. And all now for my last words. For my last words, everyone. So, ladies out there, whether you have young kids, moms, and even older ones, please take care of yourselves, your mental health in general, because once we take care of our mental, we will be able to take care of ourselves, you know, our physical health, our emotional health, our spiritual health. We can all take care of that. But I think it is mental health that would really be a strong foundation for us. So again, guys, if you need help mentally, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask help. It's covered by most insurance. You can get a life coach. Sometimes even life coaches online offer 1 hour free coaching. So take advantage of it. Oh, Elizabeth does one too. And if you are scared to do that, just tell a friend that you need help.
Yes.
You know, write somebody, voice it out, and it will make a difference. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining me and Elizabeth tonight at Getting Candid with Rochie. And I hope to see you again next Thursday for another interesting topic. So,
And
guys, don't forget to share and like. And I think Elizabeth has last words.
So, yeah, just the suicide prevention number is 1-800-273-8255. So if you are feeling suicidal and if you are feeling like you just can't take it, please call that number. So I guess I should say that again. It's 1-800-273-8255. So if you are feeling suicidal, please tell somebody, because you are worth living and you have a purpose, and it is not your day to die today, because you have another plan and there's another day awaiting you, and the people that are around you are going to miss you, whether you believe that or not. I'm telling you, it's the truth. So please call.
Okay, so thank you guys, and Elizabeth and I would want to say bye.
Bye guys, talk to you soon. Thank you, Rochie, for having me on. It was such a joy.
Thank you.